While everyone's focused on training computers to process data faster, they're missing the most powerful tool that we already have, the human imagination. In this video, I'm going to reveal how understanding our own mind's creative process could revolutionize AI development. By the end, you'll see why the future of artificial intelligence isn't in bigger databases, but in teaching machines to imagine like we do.
In our quest to understand the nature of the mind itself, we find ourselves at a remarkable threshold. Welcome to Deep Thoughts, where we examine the fundamental patterns of how humans think, learn, and perceive. Our computational tools have begun to mirror aspects of our own cognition, yet creating true artificial general intelligence requires understanding the deeper principles that guide human thought. I'm Evan Goldstein, a licensed engineer and data scientist, and I invite you to join me on this journey into the very essence of what makes us think.
You probably remember a few years ago when we were all stuck inside and wearing masks all the time. I was trapped between these four walls with my family. Love them to death, but sometimes the only space that I had to myself was the space between my ears. So, sitting there feeling all cooped up, I found myself creating these incredibly detailed mental vacations. Unable to travel physically, I'd close my eyes and let my mind craft impossible but perfect destinations. One evening, I was feeling restless in my home office, and I just leaned back in my chair and was suddenly transported to a place that existed nowhere but in my imagination. The pristine white sand, the crystal clear waters from my childhood in Monterey, California stretched out before me. Instead of the usual flat horizon, my mind placed Mount Hermon from the Holy Land as a backdrop, with its snow-capped summit turning pink in the sunset. Now, what made this mental landscape so remarkable wasn't just the visual elements. My brain had woven together an entire sensory experience. The air was filled with the sizzling sounds and mouth-watering aromas of Jerusalem street food. That's when I realized something profound about human imagination. Our minds don't just store memories like files in a computer. They take these memories apart, mix them up, and then reassemble them into something entirely new, a coherent and believable experience that can feel as real as any memory. Think about the last time you had a craving for your favorite food. Maybe it was your grandmother's chocolate chip cookies, still warm from the oven. Now, in your mind, you can probably taste that perfect balance of sweet and buttery, feel the slightly crisp edge giving way to a soft center. You might even catch that unmistakable, fresh-baked aroma. But here's something fascinating. The perfect cookie that you're thinking of, it probably never existed exactly that way. Your mind just performed an incredible feat. It took the golden brown color from one batch of cookies, the perfect texture from another, and the ideal sweetness from a third, and the exact aroma from yet another memory. Without realizing it, you've created the ultimate cookie, a masterpiece that exists only in your imagination, pieced together from countless real experiences. This is what sets human intelligence apart. Your brain didn't just replay a single memory, it curated the best elements from years of cookie making and cookie encounters to construct something entirely new, but something that's completely believable. In machine terms, you weren't just retrieving stored data. You were actively creating, combining, and refining different memories into something that's greater than the sum of its parts. But what gives us this remarkable ability? Here's how our mind creates and processes your thoughts. Imagine that you're looking at something. Let's say it's a dog. And first your eyes take in that image. It's just like a camera capturing a moment. But your brain doesn't just store this as a static picture. It becomes part of your mental library. Later, when you think about that dog, your mind creates what we might call a mental projection. It's not the original dog that you saw. It's your brain's recreation of that experience of seeing the dog. You can almost see the dog in your mind's eye. This isn't just remembering. It's actually your brain generating a new experience, building it from the original memory. Your brain can then take this mental image and work with it further. It's like having an internal screen where you can not only replay movies, but it also manipulate and you can interact with them. You can bring that dog back into your thoughts whenever you want. You can examine it from different angles, place it in new contexts, or combine it with other memories to create entirely new mental scenes. This process, from seeing something to storing it as a memory, to recreating it as a thought, and then being able to project and manipulate that thought, forms the basic building blocks of how our imagination works. It's a continuous cycle of experiencing, remembering, recreating, and reimagining. This is exactly what your mind does all the time. Take that perfect cookie that you imagined earlier. Even though you weren't actually tasting or smelling anything, the experience felt remarkably real. Those sensations were generated entirely within your mind, crafted from your own thoughts. Now let's break down how this works. First, you experience thoughts through your senses. Then, through the taste, the smell, the texture of real cookies, these experiences get stored in your memory. Later, your mind reconstructs those experiences again as thoughts. And remarkably, you recall those thoughts almost as vividly as if you were experiencing them firsthand. These reconstructed memories can be remembered and they can be reimagined again and again, creating an endless cycle of creativity. The fascinating part is that each time you recall that perfect cookie, you might add new elements, maybe a hint of sea salt that wasn't there before, or a subtle caramel tone that you once tasted in a different dessert. Each reconstruction becomes its own unique memory, ready to be called upon and transformed in future imaginative exercises. What if you harness this ability to enhance your creativity? For example, when you recall a city skyscraper, your memory might first present it reaching into the clouds, which is how we typically picture them. But if you merge that thought with an image of the ocean depths, your imagination might conjure up a skyscraper descending into the dark waters instead of rising up. That's what you'll visualize, a completely original scene, a fresh thought. So let's talk about how our imagination combines different elements to create something entirely new. Now think about two separate memories: the mysterious depths of the ocean with its gentle blue glow and a modern glass skyscraper reflecting the sun. These are both experiences that you've had in reality, and they're stored away in your mental archive. But here's where the magic of imagination takes over. Your mind can take these two distinct memories and blend them together in ways that defy reality. Suddenly, you can envision that skyscraper not piercing the sky, but plunging into the ocean depths, its windows illuminating the dark waters like bioluminescent sea creatures. Your brain has taken two real-world experiences and created something fantastical, an underwater metropolis that could never exist. This isn't a random combination, it's a sophisticated process where your mind carefully overlays these memories, maintaining the essence of both while creating something entirely new. The skyscraper keeps its sleek glass walls and its geometric precision, while the ocean maintains its mysterious depths and its ethereal lighting. But together, they create an impossible yet perfectly imaginable scene. And what's fascinating is that once you create this new mental image, it becomes a memory in its own right. Even though you've never seen a skyscraper actually standing on the ocean floor, you can now recall this imagined scene just as vividly as your real memories of buildings and of ocean depths. This is how our imagination builds upon itself, creating ever more complex and creative combinations from our basic experiences. This process of combining and reimagining isn't just a modern discovery. It has deep roots in ancient philosophical traditions. In 12th century Spain, for example, the great philosopher Maimonides, who's known as the Ramban, explored similar ideas when discussing how prophets received and interpreted divine visions. He explains that prophets didn't just receive pure abstract information. Instead, they used what he called the imaginative faculty to transform divine wisdom into understandable images and concepts, often drawing from their own experiences and memories. Think of it like this. a prophet needed to convey a complex spiritual idea about protection and guidance. So they might describe something like seeing a shepherd tending their flock, taking something similar and familiar, shepherding, and using it to represent something more abstract, divine care. And this is similar to how we combined our building and our underwater scene, taking familiar elements and merging them to create new meaning. And this creative process doesn't stop just with one combination. Let's build on our underwater skyscraper scenario. Now imagine adding schools of tropical fish to the scene. Your mind can take this new element and seamlessly integrate it into the already fantastical image that you've already created. The fish, normally darting around coral reefs, are now weaving between the steel and glass corridors, perhaps using the reflective windows as mirrors for their shimmering scales. This is a perfect example of how imagination can layer multiple concepts: skyscraper, the ocean depths, and now the fish, each one adding to the richness and the surreality of the mental picture. What's remarkable is how natural this feels to our minds. Even though we've never seen office workers gazing out of their windows at passing manta rays, our brains have no trouble creating and imagining this image. We can even imagine it and animate it in our minds, maybe dolphins that are using the building's grand entrance as their morning commute. While sea anemones make homes in the decorative architecture, this ability to continuously add and combine elements, building ever more complex scenarios from simple memories and experiences, is what makes human imagination so powerful and limitless. Each new combination becomes a building block for even more creative possibilities, forming an endless chain of imaginative potential. This notion is equally relevant to dynamic visuals, commonly known as video memories. In fact, any encountered experience, whether a sight, a sound, or even your own imaginative creations, can be brought to mind and revisited at will. This combination of these self-generated experiences helps shape your thoughts, ultimately forming your entire conscious awareness. It might seem surprising to claim that all thoughts stem from memories of past experiences. But once you recognize that you can both recall sensory observations and reflect on your internal thoughts, that initial skepticism fades away. If you've been following this train of thought, you might have an idea of how to integrate imagination into artificial intelligence. A computer can catalog its observations, and it can later recreate them in its mind, similar to a type of digital hallucination. It also has the capacity to hold on to these newly formed ideas. The crucial aspect is establishing a relationship between its cognitive processes and their initial inputs. This connection allows the machine to not only generate new concepts, but also to explore them in depth. Now, let's explore how this might work in an artificial intelligence system. Picture a network that mimics the way that our minds process information. At its core, there's a loop of information flow similar to how our brains work. When sensory information comes in, whether it's visual, auditory, or any other type of data, it follows two distinct paths. The first path leads to immediate actions, much like our reflexes or our learned responses. These are straightforward connections. Situations lead to action, clear and direct. But there's a second path where the system can generate thoughts about what it's experiencing. These thoughts aren't just stored away. They're fed back into the system as new input, creating a continuous loop of processing and reimagining. This feedback loop is crucial. It's what allows the system to not just respond to information, but to actually work with it, combine it, and to create new patterns and possibilities. Think of it like a river that splits into two streams. One flows directly to a destination, while the other circles back to join the main flow, bringing with it new elements and new possibilities. This circular flow of information, where thoughts become new inputs for more thoughts, is what could give AI systems the ability to imagine and create, much like our own minds do. This architectural approach moves us beyond simple input-output machines towards systems that can actually engage with information on a more creative and human-like level. It's a step toward artificial intelligence that doesn't just process, but truly thinks and imagines. A technically sophisticated observer might recognize the parallels between this concept and recurrent neural networks, enhanced by the ability to merge diverse ideas into a unified entity. For instance, the AI comprehends and interprets the intricacies of a skyscraper and ocean depths independently. This enables it to visualize each concept distinctly. When presented with a sentence that intertwines these two elements, the AI skillfully integrates the ideas, demonstrating a cohesive thought process. This process mirrors human cognition. We don't just perceive objects in isolation, we connect them, cultivating a richer and a more nuanced understanding of the world around us. To cultivate the skill of imagination, we must have more advanced algorithms. These algorithms must allow the AI to store information about individual objects while promoting creative combinations of this knowledge. For instance, when encountering the phrase, "a skyscraper beneath the waves," the AI would tap into its visual database, the one filled with depictions of urban structures, and another that encapsulates the mesmerizing beauty of underwater landscapes. So let's look into how an AI system can develop understanding in a manner similar to our own. Picture a learning journey where the AI first encounters and grasps individual concepts independently, such as skyscraper and deep ocean. Initially, each concept is understood in isolation, forming unique mental models. When the AI encounters a skyscraper, it absorbs the essence of modern architecture: the shimmering glass architecture, the towering heights, the interplay of sunlight on its surfaces. In parallel, as it delves into the ocean's depths, it comprehends the fluid dynamics of shifting currents, the dance of light reflecting through water, and the graceful movements of marine life. These insights serve as essential cornerstones in the AI's database and its knowledge base, akin to rich entries in a vibrant and evolving lexicon of experiences. The true enhancement unfolds when the AI begins to fuse these distinct concepts. Upon encountering the phrase skyscraper under the sea, it doesn't merely retrieve these memories in isolation, it constructs a new integrated mental model. The AI synthesizes its grasp of modern architecture, complete with urban characteristics, alongside its insights into oceanic settings. This results in an innovative concept that exceeds its initial understanding. This capability to blend discrete ideas into fresh and meaningful combinations transcends mere storage and retrieval of information. It emphasizes the interaction and the fusion of elements in ways that might not have been directly taught. This reflects how an AI system can evolve from basic pattern recognition to genuine imaginative thinking, much like our own cognitive process. The AI generates new opportunities by intertwining these learned concepts, all while preserving the core attributes that make each element both recognizable but also significant. Now, this forms the bedrock of artificial creativity, the capacity not only to learn, but to reimagine and recombine ideas in original ways. Thoughts must fill a specific function. Enabling an AI to visualize sounds and sights is merely the first step in nurturing authentic creative imagination. For thoughts to be genuinely creative, they should address both the actual and the hypothetical challenges. As mentioned previously in this conversation on awareness, memories are formed when they contribute to solving contemporary issues, either by raising questions or offering solutions. Additionally, thoughts acquire importance through their broader relevance. An AI can identify patterns from its experiences and then generalize them when beneficial, preserving essential elements while discarding superfluous details. An AI holds memories primarily when they help in solving problems, and it transforms recurring patterns from its experience into coherent knowledge. This process guarantees that its thoughts remain practical, rooted in reality, and significant. The thoughts generated by such an AI are much like our own. They follow recognizable patterns, and they reflect a synthesis of past experiences which anchors them in the real world. So, for example, let's take the earlier skyscraper example, where a contemporary building is whimsically imagined on the ocean floor amidst schools of fish. This imaginative portrayal, albeit surreal, retains a connection to reality as skyscrapers, ocean depths, and marine life all coexist. As you weave together and layer thoughts to generate new ideas, the link to reality may become tenuous. The challenge lies in discovering a sweet spot that balances being firmly rooted in reality for relevance while still allowing enough creative freedom to innovate. Memories and thoughts are linked as two aspects to the same self-generated experiences. Now, this raises a crucial question. How does one learn to associate particular scenarios with imagined concepts? In an upcoming video, we're going to explore the intricacies of memory formation and its implication for AI systems. So where does this leave us in our quest to create truly imaginative AI? Now, the answer lies in understanding that imagination isn't just about combining random elements. It's about creating meaningful new experiences from the building blocks of memory. Just as your mind can make a building or an underwater scene or schools of fish and weave them together into a cohesive scene that feels both impossible but somehow natural, tomorrow's AI systems need to do more than just process data. They need to dream. When we let go of the notion that artificial intelligence must be built on rigid databases and perfect recall, we open the door to something more powerful. AI systems that can truly create, imagine, and innovate. Systems that don't just remember, but reimagine. Systems that don't just analyze patterns, but weave new patterns of their own. The future of AI isn't about building bigger databases or faster processors. It's about understanding and replicating the beautiful dance between memory and imagination that makes human consciousness so remarkable. By teaching machines not just to store experiences, but to play with them, combine them, and transform them into something new, we might just unlock the key to genuine artificial creativity. Remember that beach scene you imagined at the start of your journey? That simple act of mental creation, combining waves and seagulls and footsteps into a holistic and seamless experience, holds the blueprint for the next revolution in artificial intelligence. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, AI can already create underwater buildings and flying cars and images and videos of whatever else we can even imagine. And you're right, modern AI can generate incredible images that blend different concepts together. But here's the thing, there's a crucial difference between following instructions and having the urge to create. Think of Pablo Picasso for a moment. So he said that good artists copy and great artists steal. Now, what did he mean by that? He wasn't talking about plagiarism. He meant that truly great artists can take inspiration from another artist so completely that they make it their own. They transform it into something entirely new that's theirs. Before Picasso created his revolutionary abstract style, he could paint traditional portraits that look just like classical portraits. He could paint you and he could put life into it. He mastered the rules and then he broke them. And that's what made his later work so powerful. He wasn't breaking rules randomly. He was breaking them with purpose. He was building an entirely new form of art, having mastered the old. And this is what separates current generative artificial intelligence from truly creative intelligence. Yes, a computer can combine a skyscraper and an ocean when we tell it to. But would it ever dream up that combination on its own? Would it ever feel that spark of inspiration that makes an artist think, what if? To be truly intelligent, AI needs to do more than just follow our creative prompts. It needs to have its own curiosity, its own drive to experiment, its own desire to break the rules. Not because it's malfunctioning, but because it wants to see what happens when it pushes boundaries. Just like Picasso didn't stop at copying other artists, we can't stop at creating AI that just copies human creativity. We need to build systems that can take that next step, that can steal creativity and make it their own. Now, this is the real challenge ahead of us. Not teaching computers to combine concepts. We've already done that. but teaching them to want to combine concepts, to have that spark of imagination that makes them ask, what if we tried something completely different? That's when we'll know we've created something truly intelligent. Not when it can create what we imagine, but when it can imagine things that we never thought to create.